If you're over 60, and tonight there is a distance that you don't quite know how to name, not the distance of children who live far away, not the distance of empty chairs, but a distance from God, a feeling that your prayers go up but don't get anywhere. This prayer is for you. Stay with me. Maybe you spent decades with a solid faith. You prayed, you went to church, you read the Bible, you taught your children to believe. And through all those years there was a sense that God was near, not always visible, not always answering the way you wanted, but near. There was a thread between you and Him that you could feel even without seeing. And at some point that thread became hard to find. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It wasn't a declared crisis of faith, the kind of thing that appears in books. It was something quieter, more gradual. Maybe it started after a loss that made no sense. Maybe after a prayer you prayed with all your heart. For a child, for a spouse, for a situation that mattered so much, and that seems not to have been heard. Maybe it goes back even further than that. A guilt you've carried for years, something you did or failed to do, and that deep in your heart led you to conclude, without ever saying it out loud, that maybe you lost the right to God's comfort. And now the prayers still happen. You still pray because you learn to pray and you don't know how to stop. But they feel different. Like talking to a ceiling, like fulfilling a ritual that no longer carries the same sense of arrival, like sending a letter to an address you're no longer sure is correct. At night, this weighs more heavily. During the day, you can distract yourself. There are things to do, shows to watch, calls to make or wait for. But at night, when the house becomes quiet and you are left alone with your own thoughts, the distance seems greater. You look at the bedroom ceiling, that same ceiling you know by heart, and feel a loneliness that is different from all the others. It isn't the loneliness of someone who has no one. It is the loneliness of someone who feels that the someone who was supposed to be the anchor of everything has become too distant to reach. Maybe you've never told this to anyone. Maybe it feels like too much weakness, too much ingratitude, too much lack of faith. People around you see you as someone of faith, and you don't know how to explain that you can be both things at the same time, someone of faith and someone who tonight cannot feel God at any distance. I understand. And I want to tell you something before any prayer, before any verse. You are not alone in this feeling. It is more common than the church usually admits. And the fact that you are still here, still searching, still turning on this video on a difficult night, this already says something about you that spiritual loneliness is trying to make you forget. For a few minutes, you don't need to pretend that faith is easy. You don't need to put on a posture of someone who has everything resolved with God. You can come just as you are, with the distance, with the doubt, with the old guilt that stubbornly refuses to go away. Because in a little while I'm going to pray with you. And I want that when this prayer ends, you feel a little less far away. Not because the questions will disappear, they probably won't, not tonight. But because sometimes peace doesn't begin when the questions disappear. It begins when you discover that you can have them and still not be alone. Stay with me. I want to tell you a story that's in the Bible, but that rarely appears in Sunday sermons. Maybe because it's too uncomfortable. Maybe because the main character isn't who we would expect. Her name is Hagar. She was an Egyptian servant in the house of Abraham and Sarah. She was not a person with power, with choice, with a voice. She was used, and that's not an exaggeration, it's what the text says. She was used to bear a child for Sarah, who could not get pregnant. And when she became pregnant, the situation in the house became complicated. Sarah treated her harshly, and Hagar ran away. She went to the desert, pregnant, alone, without a destination, without anyone. In a literal desert, heat, sand, silence, no horizon that promised any arrival. She was not the heroine of the story. She was the person the main text would almost not mention if it weren't for what happened there. In the desert, God went to her. It wasn't she who went to God. It wasn't she who prayed the right way, who had enough faith, who deserved the visit. She was on the run, hurt, alone, without a plan. And it was exactly there, in that place of abandonment that could not have seemed less spiritual, that God appeared. And after this encounter, Hagar did something that practically no other character in the Bible did. She gave a name to God, Genesis 16:13, a sentence that fits in one line, but that carries decades of comfort. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. You are the God who sees me. Not the God who saved me with grandeur. Not the God who worked spectacular miracles. The God who sees me. As if the most important thing that had happened to her was not a dramatic intervention, but simply this. Someone had seen her. Truly. In a place where she believed she was invisible even to heaven. Let me reflect with you on this sentence for a few minutes, because it has much more intrinsic information than it seems. First, Hagar was in a place that did not look like a place to meet God. She was in the desert, not in the temple, not in a structured devotional moment, not in a posture of prayer that anyone might call appropriate. She was on the run. She was afraid. She was angry, probably. She was pregnant and alone in a hostile place, and God went there. This says something very specific about the character of God that spiritual loneliness tries to make you forget. He is not waiting for you to arrive at the right place, in the right state, with the right faith, to then draw near. He goes to the desert. He goes to the place of escape. He goes to exactly where you are now, with the distance, with the guilt, with the feeling that the thread between you and him has become too thin to support anything. He doesn't wait for you to solve the distance for him to show up. He shows up in the distance. Second, God did not begin the encounter with Hagar by rebuking her. He didn't say, "Why did you run? Why didn't you have enough faith to stay?" He asked, "Hagar, where have you come from and where are you going?" A question, gentle, like someone who wants to hear the person's story before saying anything else. This is God's character with someone who is in a spiritual desert. He doesn't arrive charging for all the years of prayer that hit the ceiling. He doesn't arrive with a list of the moments in which you doubted, in which your faith weakened, in which you did something you're still carrying as guilt. He arrives with a question that is deep down an invitation. Tell me where you are. Tell me where you've come from. I want to hear. Third, and this is the point I cannot pass without dwelling on, Hagar called God El Roi. In Hebrew, literally the God who sees. And then she said something that stops me every time I read it. She said right after, "Have I truly seen the one who sees me?" There is an amazement in this phrase, almost an unbelief, as if she couldn't quite believe that she had been seen by God in that place, in those conditions, being who she was. This amazement is exactly what spiritual loneliness produces in those who carry it for too long. You hear that God sees, that God is near, that God doesn't abandon, and a part of you wants to believe it. But there is another part, deeper, that asks with Hagar's voice, "Is it really true for me? Does he really see me, with this guilt, with this distance, with this faith that no longer feels what it used to feel?" This question is not a lack of faith. It is honesty, and God is not offended by it. He draws near to it, because the name Hagar gave God that day was not forgotten. It's in the sacred text for millennia. Her encounter, in the desert, on the run, pregnant and alone, with nothing that looked spiritually appropriate, was carefully preserved. As if God wanted all the Hagars who would come after to know, "I went there, I saw her, and I see you too." You are the God who sees me, not the God who sees those who have perfect faith, not the God who sees those who never doubted, never ran away, never arrived in the desert carrying things they would rather not have carried. The God who saw Hagar, exactly Hagar, in that state, in that place, is the same God who is in this room now, looking at you, not from afar, not formally, with the same specific, personal, unmistakable attention with which he went to the desert to meet an Egyptian servant the world had forgotten. This story was written so many centuries ago, but it lands with precision in the night you are living now, because Hagar's desert and the silent bedroom where you are have something fundamental in common. They are places where it seems that God would not show up, where the person there hardly feels worthy of being found, and it is exactly in those places that he goes. Let me enter this night with you in a more concrete way. There's a scene I imagine you know. It's not dramatic, it's quiet, almost mundane, and maybe that's exactly why it hurts in a way that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived it. It's the moment of the nighttime prayer. You've done this for decades, maybe since childhood, maybe since you were converted. Maybe since you learned that the night calls for a surrender before sleep. You close your eyes. You start to speak. And at some point, in the middle of the words, that feeling shows up. The feeling that the words are coming out, but not getting anywhere. Like speaking in an empty room and hearing your own echo. You finish the prayer. You open your eyes. The ceiling is still there, the same. The lamp in the corner, the window with that sliver of streetlight, the silence in the house. And in your chest, in the place where there should be something, lightness, presence, that peace that surpasses all understanding that you heard preached so many times, there is only the same heaviness as before, sometimes a bit heavier, because now you prayed and nothing changed. And a thought passes through it all, quiet and cruel. Maybe God is fixing this here, but not for me. Or an older, more rooted version that you maybe never said out loud to anyone. After what I did, after everything that happened, everything I did wrong, everything I should have done differently, I don't know if I still have the same access that other people have. This thought is treacherous because it doesn't come as a lie. It comes as logic. It comes with the appearance of humility, of lucidity, of someone who is being honest with themselves about their own limits. And that's why it is harder to confront than a clear doubt. You don't think you're being deceived. You think you're seeing things as they really are. But I need to sit with you in front of this with firmness. This logic does not come from God. It never did. The idea that there is a level of wrongdoing from which God's comfort becomes inaccessible, that there is an old enough guilt to close the door, a long enough built-up distance to make return unlikely, this is not theology. It is the voice of spiritual loneliness, pretending to be the voice of conscience. Hagar had no title at all to make her a candidate for the encounter she had. She was a servant. She was on the run. She was in a place that was not the right place. She had done nothing to deserve that visit. And God went to her anyway, not because she had qualified, because she was her. And now think about your life for a moment. Not the mistakes, the years, the decades of prayer, even when sometimes you felt nothing. The times you went to church with a heavy heart but went anyway. The times you prayed for a child, a grandchild, someone you loved, with a faith that barely held together. But that was all you had at that moment. The nights you reached the end, not understanding anything, but still whispered something in God's direction before sleeping. This is not the faith of someone who has lost access. It is the faith of someone who keeps searching, even without seeing. And God sees this. He sees each one of these nights. Every prayer that seemed not to get anywhere, but that left your heart in His direction. It arrived. Every time you felt that old guilt and still did not completely give up, He was there. Not on the other side of a closed door, waiting for you to fix everything before knocking. On the same side as you. In the same room. Seeing. You are the God who sees me. Now think about the guilt, because it's usually at the center of everything when the loneliness is spiritual. It's not an abstract guilt, it's specific, you know what it is. Maybe it's something that happened decades ago. Maybe it's a decision you made, a person you hurt, a thing you did or failed to do at a moment when you should have acted differently. Or maybe it's several smaller things, accumulated over years, that formed a layer, thin but persistent, between you and the feeling that God is near. This guilt has taken on a role it shouldn't have. It has become the main narrative. The story you tell about yourself before God. And when this guilt becomes the main story, everything that comes after is colored by it. Prayer seems less legitimate. Comfort seems less deserved. God's nearness seems reserved for others, for those with cleaner stories, straighter paths, less weight to carry when coming before Him. But Hagar also carried a complicated story. She did not arrive in the desert with clean hands and a serene heart. She arrived on the run, with everything that running away implied. And the God who met her did not begin the encounter by demanding that she fix her story first. He began by seeing her. That is how He comes to you as well. Not after the guilt is resolved. In the middle of it. With it still present. With all the layers you carry still in place. Because it is you, not the tidied-up version of you, that He wants to meet. And there is one more thing that spiritual loneliness does that I need to name, because it is subtle and very painful. It isolates itself spiritually inside a life that looks spiritual on the outside. You may have gone to Mass or to church for decades. You may have read the entire Bible. You may have taught your children to pray, and still, inside, carry this distance as a secret. Because how can you explain to someone who knows you as a person of faith that deep down, you haven't felt God for quite some time? You don't explain. You keep doing everything the same on the outside and carrying the distance on the inside. This spiritual loneliness of someone who appears to be fine is one of the heaviest there is, because it has no interlocutor. You can't sit with someone and say, "I'm feeling far from God. It feels like too much, it feels like weakness, it feels like it will scare people or disappoint them." And so you stay alone with this, alone with the feeling that the God everyone around you seems to find so easily has, for you, moved to a distance that your prayers are not shortening. But here, in this room tonight, you don't have to hide that. You can bring the distance, you can bring the guilt, you can bring the prayers that seem not to arrive. You can bring the years in which you were faithful without feeling anything, and the years in which you weren't even all that faithful, and the doubts you never spoke out loud, and the fear that maybe God is not as close as you need him to be. You can bring all of it, because the God who went to the desert to meet Hagar is not scared by the state in which you arrived. He was already seeing you before you opened this video. El Roy, the God who sees. He sees you tonight. Not the version you present to the world, not the version of someone who has everything resolved spiritually. The real version, with the distance, with the guilt, with the unanswered questions, with the faith that has become quieter than you would like. This version is seen, is known, and is not rejected. The room you are in is not spiritually empty. I know it feels that way. The feeling of distance is real. I'm not saying you are making something up. I'm saying that feeling and reality are different things. And the reality is that the God who gave a name of himself to a woman in the desert millennia ago is the same God who is here now, as close as the air you are breathing, as attentive as someone who has never looked away. Even when you didn't feel him, he was seeing. Even on the nights when prayer felt like a monologue, he was listening. Even in the decades when the old guilt made you feel less worthy of comfort, he never agreed with that. And there is something that only someone who has reached where you are can do tonight. Something that may not seem big, but that has a spiritual weight you probably don't imagine. You can take this distance that you carry, and instead of hiding it or trying to solve it before praying, simply present it. Open your hands, even if they're empty, even if they're tired, and say, "This is what I have. This distance, this guilt, this quiet faith, it's all I can bring tonight. This is enough, more than enough." Because Hagar brought nothing to the desert that made her deserving of the encounter. She brought only herself, in the state she was in. And that was enough for the God who sees. Now I want to pray with you as if I were sitting there by your bed holding this night with you, with all its layers, with everything you brought and everything you still can't even name. Lord, I come before you now with a person who is awake tonight, carrying something that is hard even to put into words. It is not the loneliness of someone who has no one. It is something deeper, quieter, harder to confess. It is the feeling that you have become distant, that the prayers are going out but not arriving, that the thread that once connected this person to you has become so thin that they are no longer sure it even exists. Lord, you know exactly how this night is. You know how many nights have been like this. You know the specific weight this person carries, not vaguely, not as just one more name on a list, but with the attention of someone who knows every detail of this story, every layer of this silence, every prayer that seemed not to get past the ceiling and that they prayed anyway because they didn't know how to stop praying even without feeling. You saw each one of these nights. None of them was invisible to you. Breathe in now, slowly. Let the air come in and go out even more slowly, and say quietly, just for God to hear, "Lord, I am here with everything I carry, and I need you to see me tonight." Father, I want to begin naming something that is rarely named in prayer, the distance. Not as an accusation, not as despair, as honesty. This person who is listening to me now carries a spiritual distance that they did not choose to have. Maybe it began after a loss that made no sense. Maybe after a prayer answered in a way that hurt instead of comforting. Maybe after years of faithfulness that did not seem to produce the nearness they expected. Maybe it's something older, a guilt that stayed, something done or left undone that gradually became a wall between them and the sense that you are near. Lord, I bring this distance before you now. I don't ask that you explain it. I ask that you cross it. The way you crossed the desert to reach Hagar, without waiting for her to fix the situation first, without demanding that she arrive in the right state, in the right place, with the right posture. You went to where she was. Go to where this person is tonight. Place your hand on your chest now, gently. Feel your heart beating. And remember, every beat of this heart happens before a God who is looking. Not from afar, not formally, with the specific, unmistakable attention of El Roi, the God who sees. He is seeing you now. Lord, I want to pray about the guilt, because it is there. This person knows it's there. Maybe it's something specific, something that happened decades ago and was never fully let go. Maybe it's several smaller things accumulated over the years that formed a layer between them and the certainty that your comfort is for them too. This guilt has done something it shouldn't have done. It became the main narrative, the story this person tells about themselves before you. And when guilt becomes the main story, everything else becomes colored by it. Prayer seems less legitimate. Nearness seems destined for others. Comfort seems like something they might receive one day, maybe, if they manage to fix enough first. Lord, speak now against this logic, with authority, with tenderness, with the firmness of someone who is not agreeing with this narrative. Because you did not go to the desert to meet Hagar after she had fixed her story. You went while she was still on the run, still in the middle of everything, still carrying everything she was carrying. And what you said to her was not a charge. It was presence. It was not a demand. It was that she was seen. Say this to this person's heart now. Say with me, very softly, I bring my guilt into your hands, Lord, not to hide it, to let it go. I choose to believe that your forgiveness is greater than what I did. And I receive this forgiveness tonight, not because I deserve it, but because you offer it. Father, I want to pray about the prayers that seemed not to be heard. Those prayers this person prayed with everything they had, for a child in trouble, for a suffering spouse, for a situation that mattered so much, and that seemed to change nothing, or that were answered in a way that hurt instead of comforting, and that left deep in the heart a question they may never have spoken aloud. Did you hear? Did you really hear? Lord, I will not pretend that I understand all of your answers. I will not try to explain the unexplainable in this prayer, but I want to declare what I know, what the sacred text itself says clearly. You hear. You have never stopped hearing, and the prayers that seemed not to get anywhere reached, each one of them, you. None was lost. None was ignored. None was considered too small to deserve attention. Every time this person closed their eyes and spoke toward a ceiling that seemed to give no answer, you were on the other side of that ceiling, listening, with an attention that does not shrink with repetition, that does not tire over time, that does not get distracted by supposedly more important things. May this person be able to feel that tonight, not just understand it, feel it, in their chest, in the place where the distance lives. Lord, speak now against the lies that spiritual loneliness whispers tonight, the lie that there is a mistake big enough to close your door, the lie that the comfort you offer is for those with cleaner faith, straighter stories, less weight to carry, the lie that this person has lost access in a way that there is no return, the lie that you are fixing others while they wait outside. These lies are not your voice. They never were. Your voice, the voice of El Roi, the God who sees, says something else. It says, I went to the desert, I see you, you are not outside anything. May that voice be louder tonight than any other, louder than the silence of the room, louder than the old guilt, louder than the unanswered questions piled up over the years. If you can, breathe in deeply once again and say, you are the God who sees me, even tonight, even in this state, even with everything I carry. You see me. Father, I want to pray now about something this person may have never named this way, but that is present. The tiredness of keeping up an appearance of faith when inside the distance is real. The tiredness of going to church, of answering "I'm fine" when someone asks how they are spiritually, of being seen by others as a person of faith while carrying inside this loneliness that no one around seems to understand, or that they don't know how to explain without disappointing those who know them that way. This tiredness is real, and you see it too. Lord, may this person no longer have to carry this weight alone tonight. May this room, this specific room with the lamp in the corner and the ceiling they already know by heart, and the silence that weighs, be the place where they can finally put all of this down, without performance, without the posture of someone who has everything resolved, just them as they are before you. And may you be enough for this moment. Not the God of elaborate sermons and easy answers, the God who went to the desert, the God who came to a woman on the run and began with a gentle question before anything else, the God who gave himself a name, the God who sees through the lips of someone the world had forgotten. This is the God who is here now. Lord, I want to place this night in your hands. The distance this person feels, in your hands. The guilt they carry, in your hands. The prayers that seemed not to arrive, in your hands. The spiritual tiredness of years of faithfulness without feeling, in your hands. The questions that have no answer at 11 at night, at midnight, at 2 in the morning, in your hands. You hold what they can no longer hold alone. Say with me now, very softly. I let go of what I cannot solve. I let go of the distance. I let go of the guilt. I choose to trust that you see me, even when I don't feel you. I choose to rest in this truth tonight. And about the future, about that day we all know will come, that this person may look toward with a different fear when faith is quiet, when the certainty of God's presence is not as firm as they would like. Lord, may there be peace about that tonight as well. Not the peace of someone who has resolved all doubts, the peace of someone who has decided to trust a God who went to the desert, who gave himself a name that says, I see, who did not wait for Hagar to arrive in the right condition to appear, and who will not wait for this person to fix everything before being present on that day either. When this person's last day here comes, may it be in your arms, with peace in their heart, with the certainty not built by emotion but by promise, that the same God who saw them tonight will be there as well, that there is no distance, no guilt, no silence of prayer that can separate anyone who seeks you from you. Until then, help them rest in this truth. One night at a time. Surround this room with your presence now, not in a generic way, in a specific way, in this room, in this silence, in this night. May the last thing this person feels before closing their eyes not be the distance. May it be this: I am seen by El Roy, by the God who went to the desert and who is here now, and I can rest. In Jesus' name, amen. If this prayer reached a place inside you that had been closed for a long time, keep this video. Save it here on YouTube, because if you start to feel the distance again, watch this video again. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything here. And there is one more thing I want to ask you. If while you were listening to this video, a face came to mind, not someone famous, not someone distant, someone close, a neighbor you know lost their faith after a big loss, a friend from church who stopped showing up and who, when you ask, says they're fine, but their eyes say something else, someone in a nursing home who carries an old guilt they never told anyone, and who at night is alone with it. If that face came, don't ignore it. Send this video to that person. It doesn't need a long explanation. It doesn't need an elaborate message about faith and spiritual distance. Just a "mind I was thinking of you" is enough. Sometimes the greatest act of love is simply remembering someone exists and letting that person know they are not alone in the desert where they are. In the next video, I want to keep praying with you, and the next step is natural, almost inevitable. Because after bringing the distance from God into the light, after letting go of the guilt that was weighing you down, after receiving, even timidly, even still with doubt, the truth that you are seen, what usually appears right after is another layer of weight: fear of the future, fear of what is still to come, fear of the unknown that night amplifies, that the mind feeds, that the years do not necessarily diminish. This fear deserves to be brought before God with the same honesty we brought tonight. And that is exactly what we will do together in the next video. so that peace doesn't stay only in this room, this night, but goes with you into the days that are still to come. Now rest, close your eyes. You were seen tonight by the God who went to the desert and who is here now, in this room, in this silence, in this distance. You brought exactly as it was. You are not alone. El Roy is here.